Well, hello once again. I'm sorry that there's been a few technical differences. The wonders of the internet sometimes just let you down a little bit. So apologies for being late. And at the moment, we're struggling to get one of our guests online. So let's hope we find that guest very, very soon. All right. Well, welcome once again to Shrewsbury Town and the Community's second Heads Up broadcast, where we discuss with invited guests how they are coping with the lockdown brought about by this dreadful virus at the moment. Now, look, please do send us your questions. We've got several here already, which we'll try and get through. But you can make a comment, or indeed you can ask any questions in the comment box, which is just below your picture, your screen. And we do look forward to any comments you might like to make, ideas for the future, things that you'd like us to cover that perhaps we haven't so far covered. And a big thank you as well to Sophie Challoner. Liam McDonald is the technical boy, and he's done a fantastic job for us. Well, it looks as if it's working now anyway. Let's congratulate him while everything's working okay. But a big thank you to Sophie Challoner, who's the brains behind these particular presentations from our community. Now, we do have two guests today. We've only got one at the moment. We welcome Harriet Bratt. She is an international speaker and a fire walk instructor and warrior. Yes, and I did say warrior, and I did say fire walk, and we'll find out in just a few minutes' time a little bit more about that. We've also got Dave Edwards. He's going to be joining us, I hope. We're trying to get hold of him and trying to get him online. But meanwhile, Harriet, we will focus very much on yourself. Good to see you, and thank you for giving up one of the nicest days of the year to be sitting up in your. Where are you? Whereabouts are you based anyway?
I'm in Cornwall.
You're in Cornwall.
Right down.
Well,
very blessed.
So I should think have they got many visitors there? You shouldn't have any visitors, but are people going down there?
We had quite a few visitors come down at the beginning of lockdown. I think a lot of people thought, oh, let's go and spend lockdown in Cornwall. But of course, further restrictions, further guidelines came into place. So certainly not so much recently. But before we do jump in, I would also just like to say that it's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm so grateful to Sophie, as you say, the brains behind this incredible opportunity for people to stay happy, stay healthy, stay connected during these times. So big shout out to Sophie and also to Shrewsbury Town community for having this space for people to gather during these times.
Well, fantastic, and thank you for that, Harriet. Now, look, by way of introduction, let me quote your description of yourself on your website so that we put everybody in the picture. I knew I wanted more, you say, but I had no idea how and had lost my confidence to try. Opportunities were few and far between in our local village. Bullying and abuse at school, in relationships, I had little to no confidence and an internal self-loathing. After graduating and experiencing various job roles, I still did not feel fulfilled. In my final role before stepping into entrepreneurship of running a care home, I finally realized enough was enough and there was more to life. I was broke, unfulfilled, working 80 plus hours a week and having hardly any time with my fiance, let alone a social life. Now, I have to say, Harriet, I'm just wondering what has happened to this broke, unfulfilled young woman with no time to socialize, because from our fairly brief encounters so far, I find it very difficult to recognize you from this description of yourself.
I'm actually really grateful that you shared that, because now I'm very blessed to be traveling the world. I speak on stages, India, Taiwan, America, here, there, and everywhere. But that's exactly why I love you've shared what you have, because people see me in this role now and they're really kind and say like, whoa, you're so confident, you're so inspirational. And that's very kind. I appreciate those words. Thank you. But the truth of the matter is, so are you. You just don't realize it yet. And that's exactly what happened to me is, 3 years ago, I was I wouldn't say shy. I've never been a shy person. I believe there's people that speak very openly about their difficulties, and then there's people that keep it inside and kind of wear a mask. And I was that person. So I seemed very happy on the outside, but inside my mind, and I think there'll be a lot of viewers that can relate to this, especially during these times. Inside my mind, it was always a battle. I was always questioning myself, wondering if I was good enough, wondering if people liked me, you know, all of these different normal emotions that go through us humans, but we kind of limit ourselves by thinking we're on our own. So when I realized there was this world of personal development, when I found fire walking, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, but it's been hugely powerful in my journey, and it's why I now do it. Everything that I share with everybody else now is everything that I've done repeatedly to allow me to now stand in my power, to now live a happy and fulfilled life. But even more than that, share with others how they can do it too. But what's important to know is it wasn't always like that for me. And just like anybody watching out there, it's just about taking certain steps, certain strategies repeatedly over and over again to be able to step into the life that you want to create for yourself.
Yeah, and this, of course, is very much your story, but I recognize that same story in so many people that I know. Some of them are friends of mine who get to a certain point in life and think to themselves, I'm not doing what I really feel I ought to be doing. I'm not being fulfilled in the particular role and my way of life. The problem is that sometimes there's a difficulty getting out of that trench, that trough. You obviously found a way of finding that step ladder, which has helped you to heave yourself out of that trough that you were once in.
Yes. And I think it's, you know, it's been over time that I've been able to establish that. And, you know, for a long time, we still were broke. It was about taking risk, but taking it for reward. And I think that's actually the biggest problem, is most people aren't willing to take that risk to get the reward. And I say that really respectfully, and I understand that it's very easy in this society not to. We kind of go along day by day in our routine thinking that's what we have to do and what we should be doing. And sadly, if you look at the top influencers, the most successful entrepreneurs around the globe, they all have a story. And I think every single viewer, you know, get involved in the chat, just like Ryan shared, ask your questions. This is much more better for you if we can personalize it to you. So please do ask your questions. But everybody listening or watching this will be able to relate and connect to pain. Everybody has experienced something in their life that was difficult or hard to go through. But it's not about experiencing that pain and letting it break you. It's experiencing that pain and allowing it to make you. And sadly, what I was just about to say is most of the top 5% in the world that are successful in life, as successful financially, but fulfilled, happy, enjoying relationships, balance of life, they have hit rock bottom. You hear so many stories of people that have had to go through so much pain to catapult them to that other level of massive abundance or massive wealth. So I'd like to impart to everybody watching here that you don't need that rock bottom story. Everybody has gone through something, and everybody, as I like to say, has a warrior inside of them. They have greatness inside of them, but you need to make a decision to step out of that comfort zone if you want to create a different life for yourself.
Look, I can sense that everybody wants me to ask you about this fire walking. Before we go any further on your story and talking about some of the questions that have been sent in to us, just let's get out of the way this fire walking business. Explain to us. I'm finding difficulty just getting into my head what goes on here, and why anybody would do it. To be perfectly honest.
Well, in that case, Ryan, I invite you to join me next time. And
well, that's
like
very
all
kind.
Of these witnesses.
I might be on holiday.
Long story short, firewalking is something that's been done for thousands of years. It's not new. However, Tolly Bakan over in America introduced firewalking as an empowerment activity for the very reason that you've just demonstrated. For all of us, me included at the beginning, saying, firewalking? you walk on fire. It's just not believable. You think it's not possible, especially when we tell you that the coals are 1,700 degrees. So it seems impossible.
Oh, that's fine. That seems well within my compass. This if it's only that hot.
So you're in. Witnesses. So it's something very impossible, and yet it's possible. And the biggest question I get asked now as an instructor, not just as somebody that's walked, I've walked over 150, 200 fires now, but people always say to me, but can you do it? And it's sort of, I understand completely the question, but the very nature of me being a fire walk instructor shows that it can be done. But the experience isn't about necessarily the element itself. It's the element of being a teacher, that you can feel fear and do it anyway. So it's a very powerful way of demonstrating to you, because in our day-to-day, what limits us, you know, a moment ago we were speaking about people making that decision to step out and do something new. A lot of people feel depressed, feel anxious, feel unfulfilled. They want something different, but they don't take that step because fear or limiting beliefs is holding them back. And that's what was holding me back. So when you walk the fire, you instantly, there's no arguing that in that moment, you stand in front of that fire, and I'm not sure if we're supposed to swear on this show, so I'll mute it. But you know, you're scared. That's frightening. Yeah. It's fire.
I think you've got the picture. Yes, yeah.
But then when you are able to tap into something, and obviously we facilitate and we take you through a process, but you tap into a state of mind, a state of being that allows you to walk, and you walk. And that's, for me, my most favorite thing of being a firewalk instructor, is standing at the end, and that person, once they've walked across that fire and they finish, and you know, you just see this superhero moment, whoa, and they suddenly realize, it's like that light switch moment, that they realize that us human beings, we have incredible potential inside of us. We just allow ourselves to be limited and think it's for other people. We see all, you know, Usain Bolt doing the 100-meter world record. Whoa, he is amazing. He is this, he is that. No, he may have a natural talent, but he also repeatedly kept his mind in that game, kept his focus in that game, and did certain steps that anybody else could do too, if they chose to. So that's what firewalking does in a nutshell. It allows people to overcome fear and see what is possible for themselves.
I have to say, Harriet, we don't have to put ourselves through hot coals to go through agony. We're all Shrewsbury Town supporters up here, and we go through agony. Just tell me, have you any interest in football at all?
I just got to be honest, I'm not. But also, let me just really share, there's no agony. There's agony in football for me. There's no agony in firewalking.
Well, I can assure you there's agony for us as well. Just tell us about your own sort of personal lockdown and how you are. Whereabouts are you? Are you in the loft somewhere? Are you in your office, or whereabouts are you?
I'm in the office at the moment. I've also got a YouTube channel as well, so this is sort of
I see. Right,
YouTube.
Right. Yeah.
Over there.
Yeah. So just tell us a little bit about your own lockdown and how it's affecting you down there in that beautiful part of our country.
Okie dokie. I think first and foremost, I don't know if most of our viewers are in the UK, but I think the first thing that we have to say thank you for is the weather.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It is absolutely gorgeous. Yes. Are you coping with it? Are you managing it? Are you in control of it, or is it in control of you? How are you doing?
I think, like with everybody here, all of us globally are experiencing times of uncertainty. So yes, absolutely, there's been moments of doubt, there's been moments of wonder, there's been moments of stress. You know, I'm a speaker, I run events, my main business is externally offline, so it's completely changed, like so many of the viewers. I'm sure that's happened for them as well. So there's certainly been these moments, but what I'm really grateful for is before all of this, and very much in line with the work I do, I went through a lot of mindset development. So actually, and I don't say this in a blasé way, in the same way, if you want to train, if you want a fit, foxy, fabulous body, if you want to be an outstanding footballer, you train repeatedly. And it's the same with your mind. If you want a mindset that serves you, if you want a mindset that allows you to go through something like this in a fairly peaceful, content way, looking for solution, then you work on your mindset. So actually being very honest here, and I know that there's a lot of people that are finding it difficult, and that's why I wanted to come on today, to give some value, to give some tips. I've also got a coping with COVID-19 document. If people want to have that, it's totally free, and there's loads of tips, loads of value within there that can support others. But actually through having a routine, I really recommend people to have a routine. Thank you, the website's there. Thank you. I think you said Liam. Thanks, Liam, for doing that. Legend. Have a routine, have some sort of structure, create habits, and then allow the habits to create you. So definitely, it's very easy to kind of want to stay in tracksuits or stay in slouches, and I'm a big fan of slouches, but get yourself up and going. Have a morning routine that serves you and sets you up for more of a productive day. Stay connected with people. You know, platforms like this, Zoom, different communities online are so powerful at these times. Get creative as well. Get really creative with, you know, if you can't see family, perhaps you can make something for them and then go and drop it in the garden on a drive-by, or, you know, get creative with how you're connecting with people during these times. Even couples at home, you know, create a special date night together. Make it even more magical. It's not just meal at the table. You put a flower on the tray, or you put some music on, you light some candles, you make a picnic outside, whatever it might be. But get creative in this process, in how you can connect with other people.
I hope my wife's not listening, because it sounds a bit expensive, that, between you and I.
Well, taking her out.
Let me just say to you, we had Omar Beckles was on this show a week ago, exactly a week ago, and I put it to him: was he missing, you know, training with his mates on the training ground, and was he missing the matches and the traveling, all the rest? He said, well, of course he's missing it, and he wouldn't have chosen it this way, but it's helping him and his wife to sort of reassess what is important in life. And I thought that was quite a powerful statement. It certainly got me thinking.
I think that's really beautiful, and also an amazing guest to have on the show. Shrewsbury community, you are rocking it. And I completely agree. You know, I'm the same. I thrive on live events. I love speaking. I love traveling. But it's that acceptance. It's that understanding that things have changed for everybody, and knowing that we are all in this together in some weird way. And if I can share this and it not be taken out of context, it's almost like a sort of universal cleanse. And as Omar referred to, we are all having a sort of moment of pause, maybe not those on the front line, and thank you so much to all of them. But for most of us, we are having this pause where we are able to reflect and see, you know, what's important to us in life. How can I give more into my children, these connections, into my family? Whoa, I gave so much time to this work. What else could I be doing? So it's a really beautiful reflection time.
One of our audience has asked, as I said, how can they help themselves? How can they feel less stressed, less anxious, less worried about the time we're going through? Any thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. I've kind of, for me, there's definitely three top tips that really help with this. And just to make it easy for everyone to remember, just put BAF, B-A-F. BAF is just a short, easy word that you can remember. B is for breathing, calming your mind and breathing. I think last week you spoke about the breathing box technique. So breathing in for 4, holding it for 4, and then breathing out again. There is so much evidence to demonstrate that the nature of taking these deep breaths instantly changes the biochemistry inside you, and you will calm your mind. If you don't feel calm straight away, keep doing it. Keep taking that breath. But most importantly, focus and observe the breaths that you are doing. Number 2 is to allow. allow and accept what is happening. So I'm particularly making this relevant to COVID-19 and feeling perhaps stressful or anxious during these particular times. Yes, it's relevant to life, but I'm going to make it particularly relevant, obviously, to the lockdown period. Accept and allow. Understand that as much as it's like we could be like, oh, I want to be out right now, or working, or there's finances gone missing. There's so many different reasons why we can experience the stressful and the worrying side. It's that acceptance that this is happening. There's a quote which I love, and everybody should write this down. We cannot always control what is happening to us. We cannot always control what is happening to us, but we can always choose how we respond. So we can't control our external circumstances, but we can choose our response. So during this lockdown, it's that allowing and acceptance that this is happening for everybody. So accept what is universally happening. And then allow emotions such as stress, such as anxiety, such as depression, such as frustration, in the same way of happiness, surprise, enthusiasm, contentment, joy. These are all emotions. So when stress shows up, allow it to pass. Don't try and fight it. What we resist persists. What we focus on expands. So don't try to fight it. Allow it to come through you. And then number 3, F, BAF, for the F is focus. So allow that thought, that emotion, that anxiety, know that you're human, you're normal. Everybody experiences these emotions, but then allow it to go through you using your breathing, and then change your focus. And I know this is a little bit of a long answer, so thank you for your patience, Ryan, but change your focus. What we expand. So what we think about, we bring about. And what you may or may not know is in between our minds, so you have your conscious brain and your subconscious brain. And your subconscious brain is the captain of your ship. It's responsible for 90 to 95% of your behavior. And it passes to your conscious mind what you are going to focus on through something called your reticular activating system. And how does it select what will pass through your reticular activating system is what you choose to focus on. So I don't know where everybody is in say a mindset journey, but to make this easier to sort of understand and practice, it's about choosing what you're thinking. So that little voice inside your head. Everybody that is watching, say hello. Don't say it out loud, but say hello. That voice is talking away to you all day long. But what most people don't realize is we can become the master of that voice rather than being the slave to that voice, if that makes sense. So Absolutely. Our programming, our thought process is become so automatic. By the time we're 35, 95% of our thoughts are running automatically. So we need to be able to change our focus, step in and take charge of how that little voice is communicating with you. So change your focus, and it could be to a funny YouTube video. It could be to music. Music's a really powerful one because it also gets you up and changes your physiology. Gratitude, there's many different ways, but changing your focus will then retract the feeling of stress or worry or negative. Because last but not least, as powerful as our minds are, they cannot process a positive and a negative at the same time. So if you change your focus into something that makes you feel good, you cannot feel bad at this time, as you are immersing your focus into that. So remember, BAF.
A short word, but a very long answer, but a very good answer as well. And that is really very important. And it answers the question, I think, absolutely perfectly. I think you might have perhaps referred to my following question. I noticed on your website, you talk about the growth mindset. Now, first of all, what does that mean? And how can we develop that in our work practice?
I think growth mindset is something that is used a lot externally, but for me personally, I use growth mindset because there's a big stereotype around positive mindset. Essentially speaking, a growth mindset is being open to learning and growing, being open to not allowing certain opinions to dictate you, and understanding perhaps different ways of doing things, looking at things, seeing things, and learning. Because 6 + 3 is 9, but so is 7 + 2. There doesn't have to be always your way. So it's being open, but more than that, it's being positive and it's being solution focused, which is so important at these times. Now, just for everybody watching, positive mindset does not mean, yeah, life is amazing, I'm so happy in every single moment. No, we're human. We have all of these different emotions and we are going to feel them. Life is going to bring ups, downs, challenges, pain, hurt, but also amazing, wonderful times. It's going to bring all of these things. So a growth mindset means, how do we navigate our way through life in a calm, grounded, confident way, trusting yourself to continuously keep growing, being open and developing, and not allowing challenge to sway you or knock you back.
Let me just ask you another question that we've just received. In the limited time available, I'm moving around lots of different things. We need a couple of hours with you, Harriet, to develop some of your themes. Let me just ask you, and this is a lot of parents. My son and my daughter, they have children, and I know this is something that worries them about routines at home, keeping the children engaged, keeping them involved, having to sort of feel, some of them sometimes feeling under pressure from the work that's being sent from school. What are your thoughts on the routines that perhaps we should be developing at home at the moment?
Oh, Ryan, there's a curveball. I like to be professional in a sense of supportive of what schools and teachers are doing and are putting out for parents to follow. So I respect that and I admire how they are still actively contributing to children to learn, say, a syllabus. And I think there's some things, like actually Sophie, the amazing Sophie Challoner, that set all of this up. She was sharing with me, about how they had the kids out in the garden with targets to do their times tables, but they were firing Nerf guns at the numbers. So they were still doing their times tables, but they were doing it in a really fun way. So again, it goes back to what I was saying about getting creative. But with love, my honest answer for parents right now is bath. Take a deep breath in and stay calm. I personally truly believe that the biggest lessons I've ever received in my journey didn't come during my educational time. Don't get me wrong. Is school important? Yes. Does it give you so much value for so many reasons? Yes, absolutely. However, during these times, I think it's more important that you focus on keeping yourselves as a happy family. There's so many skills and ways of allowing children to grow, develop, and understand themselves right now, which will serve them better in life than any, now I'm getting too far, be careful, but will certainly serve them very well in life. So I think parents should take the pressure off. They didn't sign up to be teachers. If they can manage with certain subjects and there's topics that they're sharing and it's working, beautiful, go with it. If it's not and it's driving you crazy, pause and change tactic. Allow the process to be what is most important for your children right now. And personally, I believe the biggest skill we can give children is a good mindset, is the ability to stay calm, stay content, stay fulfilled during crisis, is the ability to see opportunity rather than crisis. The Chinese word for crisis means opportunity. So it's how can we teach and support our children to make the most of certain situations, to be kind during these times. They are important life skills that parents can impart without getting super stressed about remembering the times tables or certain periods of history. So that might be a little bit against what some schools think, but that's my honest answer for parents.
That's a fantastic answer, and I completely agree. I think what's happened is schools do feel under pressure to set work for their students at home. And perhaps our lack of experience, I'm a retired teacher now, but perhaps our lack of experience of online learning has meant that perhaps we put a little bit too much pressure on children and put too much pressure, not so much on the children perhaps, as on the parents as well. So I think I agree entirely with what you said. Just take the pressure off, do the Omar Beckles thing, and just reflect a little bit, and just begin to realize what is really important in life. Now, I think we've got Dave Edwards with us now. Am I right? Is he here? You can have a breather now, Harriet. Thank you for that. And here's Dave. Now, Dave is 8 miles down the road from here, Harriet. You are something like 200 miles away. We can get you, but we couldn't get Dave. But here he is. Lovely to see you, Dave, and thank you very much for joining us on this gorgeous, I think it's a Saturday, isn't it? Saturday afternoon.
I think so.
How are you doing? How are you coping?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really good. Yeah, sorry I'm a little bit late. I've been told all day to leave my phone inside, and I lost track. I was in a water fight outside with the kids. And then all of a sudden I panicked, like, is it 3 o'clock yet? Ran inside, and then so sorry I'm late, but I just caught the end of what Harriet was saying there about making the most of the time with the family and stuff like I've been doing today in the sun. That's exactly what I've been doing.
And you're a living example of that. In fact, you answered the question that she was answering. I'll put it to you now. I'll do the formal introduction in a moment, but before we do that, what's the routine you've got at home at the moment? It sounds fairly relaxed, as it should be.
It is. We've so in the week, I caught the end of what Harriet was saying there, that our teachers at Ponsonby School, which my children go to, they're great. They don't put any pressure on doing the work. They set the work. But they say, look, if you don't want to do it for whatever reason, then don't worry about it. But saying that, we find that we need to try and get the kids just to do at least an hour in the morning. At the start of the lockdown, they were very enthusiastic and they wanted to do lots of work. But as it's gone on, it's getting more and more of a battle to get the maths books right and things like that. So we're trying to do a little bit, trying to make it fun, but then trying to make the most of the time we're having together as a family, because it's not often we get this quality time. My wife works. I'm obviously away of football quite a lot. So to actually have all four of us at home, it's really nice. And so these situations hopefully won't come around too often with a pandemic like we've got. So we've got to make the most of it.
Absolutely. Let me just, most people will know you, but for those that strangely don't know you, and for Harriet's benefit as well, who doesn't follow football, by the way, Dave, but we will let her off with that for the moment. Well, let me just say welcome, Dave, a professional footballer, entrepreneur, philanthropist, a fellow trustee of Shrewsbury Town and the community, first active professional footballer to endorse the Offside Trust, which was founded after the revelation of the UK football sexual abuse scandal back in 2016. And Dave has the rare distinction, Harriet, of having played, and this will mean nothing to you perhaps, but I don't know, he's played in all top 5 divisions in the English Football Premier League, in the Championship, in League One, in League Two, as well, sadly, in the Conference, when Shrewsbury very briefly, thank goodness, dropped into non-league football. He's played for Shrewsbury Town twice. He's played for Luton Town, Wolverhampton Wanderers, 3 years in the Premiership, and he played at Reading. Made his professional debut for his hometown club of Shrewsbury, and I remember it vividly, and I can't believe it's on May the 3rd, 2003.
Yeah,
that seems like a long time ago, Dave. And this is where you started. You started your career as a youth team player at the age of 10. Moved first to Luton, then on to Wolves, and during this long career has represented Wales on 43 occasions, scoring 3 goals. I think it's 3. Am I right? Is that right? Is that about right? Yeah. And in 2016, how can we forget, he was part of the squad that reached the semi-finals of the European Cup. And to the great joy of every Shrewsbury Town supporter, Dave returned to his roots in January of last year in a 2.5-year contract. And everybody was absolutely delighted. Did you feel any sort of pressure coming back to town? There were high expectations. I know how I would feel if suddenly everybody was looking forward to me appearing or whatever it might be. Was that an added pressure coming back to town?
Yeah, definitely on a professional level. I said expectation. I think when I left Shrewsbury, I was so young, really. I was 21 when I left, and I'd been progressing and I felt getting better every season. I think for the Shrewsbury fans to see me go on and play at a higher level internationally and Premier League, I think they were excited to see me come back. And I did feel a little bit of pressure, but I just physically, I wasn't quite in good enough shape when I returned. I had a couple of bad injuries leading up to it, and it was tough emotionally and mentally, knowing that I couldn't quite do what I wanted to do. Then obviously I suffered a few injuries and stuff, but I finally feel now that I'm in a physically a good place to come and contribute and hopefully be a big part of a successful Shrewsbury team next season.
I think you're right. I think you did build up, and you were playing in really, really well. The Liverpool game, I think, was probably the best I'd seen you for quite the one at Anfield. I thought you were absolutely outstanding. So really, this break in the season couldn't have happened at a worse time in many ways. But football-wise, for all of us, it couldn't happen at a worse time. But particularly as a professional footballer, it must have been a hard thing to stomach.
Yeah, especially coming into that final stretch of the season with sort of 10, 11 games to go. And me personally, I felt like I just got to a point where my injuries, which I'd had, weren't niggling me, because you always have little niggles as a footballer. But I felt like the last 3 or 4 games I played, probably from the end of January onwards, I felt like my body was in a really good place. So I was disappointed that it stopped. Felt like I'd sort of become a regular in the team and things like that. But saying that, the break has done my body the world of good as well. So I managed to be able to relax for a couple of weeks, still doing all my fitness work and stuff. But the actual impact which every day football has on you, and 18 years of it, doing it every single day, it does take its toll. So to have a break of this long, it has really refreshed me. It's made me realise how much I am going to miss football when that retirement does come.
Have you been able to go for a run around Ponsonby and avoid the hills?
No, can't avoid the hills in Ponsonby, unfortunately. But I've been going on new tracks. I've been running sort of around this area for years, since I was about 11, 12 years old, sort of doing the cross-country runs. So I've been reliving my youth and then finding some new routes as well. And it's really nice. My boy, who's nearly 10, he's into his running. So he comes out of me, and it's a real special experience. Again, I couldn't do runs like this in the middle of a season because I'd be that worried about recovering and making sure I'm right for the Saturday that I wouldn't do any extra training at home. So times like this, it's nice to make the most of it with activities like I'm doing with Jack.
Is your son as competitive as you? Is there a little bit of needle when you're going on your runs?
Yeah, he's a bit sneaky. He's a real fit lad. He has so much energy, but he's a little bit sneaky. Whenever we're coming to the end of a run, he just saves enough energy and then he just takes off. And then I can't stay with him. And it's usually we run to the very top of Ponsonby Hill quite a lot, up to the trig point. And the last 200 yards is hard work. And he kind of saves all his energy and then just off like a dog. And I can't keep up with him, unfortunately.
Wonderful. You've chosen to stay in Ponsonby. That's where your home is. It's always been your home. And at a time like this, I bet you're thanking your lucky stars that you did decide a long time ago that you would keep at your base with family and all your friends surrounding you. That's probably quite important during this pandemic.
Yeah, most definitely. I was fortunate when I was at Wolves that I could still live locally, and I did live in Shrewsbury itself. I lived in the Shelton area of town, and I grew up out in Ponsonby and out in the countryside, and I really enjoyed that. So when we had Jack, he's our eldest, we wanted to move back to Ponsonby before he started school or around the area, just because me and my wife are both from rural areas and we know how amazing that is growing up. So we did that, and we've been here ever since. Obviously, I went to Reading for a little while, so I moved down there, and things like that have made me realise how lucky we are out here in Ponsonby with all the space we have around us. Because at Reading, I was in a flat, and me and Emma talk about it quite a lot, that if we was in that flat now, the 2 kids, and we had no outside space whatsoever, it would have been so hard work. And there's so many families that are going through that at the moment, and to be cooped up in a small space without having that garden or the greenery around you, which I didn't have when I was down there, it was hard at that point. But not being able to go and travel and socialise, it must be extra difficult for these people in the cities.
Absolutely, and we think that every day. Every time we go for a walk down by the river here in Shrewsbury, I'm thinking, how lucky are we that we've got all this natural asset. Between March the 22nd and April the 14th, the height of the pandemic, there was a survey conducted. I think there were over 1,600 professional footballers, and it was discovered that 22% of women and 30% of men were reported to have symptoms consistent with a diagnosis of depression. Now, that in itself is a negative headline, But in another sense, it's positive in as much as that stigma of admitting that you're having that it's tough at the moment, that stigma seems to have disappeared amongst professional sportsmen.
Yeah, most definitely. In the last sort of 3 or 4 years, mental health campaigns, various ones, have really come to the forefront of sport, and it's been hugely needed. I'm very lucky that I'm in a real good mental space at the age I'm at now, a bit more experience, being able to cope with the ups and downs that football brings. But when I was younger and you couldn't talk about it, I went through some real dark times, and you feel so guilty for feeling like that, because you think, well, I'm a professional footballer, it's the best job in the world, why should I feel like this? But there was times when I was injured and couldn't see a way I was going to get fit. And when you are a footballer, that is all you know. You go to bed thinking about football, you wake up thinking about it, you train, come home, and then everything is all geared around that Saturday and playing. And when that's taken away from you, like an injury does, or like it is at the moment, minds can wander, and then that's not a good thing when you haven't got the coping strategies to be able to deal with it. And I had a stage in my early to mid 20s, about 23, 24, and we were lucky at Wolves at the time. We had an amazing doctor called Matt Perry, and I went and sought help from him. It's not something you'd ever bring up to the manager or anything like that. It's a sign of weakness when we were younger, and that's where that stigma's gone now, which is incredibly thankful that that's happened. But I went to see the doctor at Wolves, and he was really good, directed me sort of to specialists to go and see, and it was all about my thinking patterns. And I started to read a lot more then, and I used to call it decatastrophizing situations, so thinking that I'm a long way from what the actual words is. So you've got to be thankful, find gratitude in everything you do, in every situation. And it's something which I've just built on, learned more about since then. It's a daily habit of mine now, where I first thing in the morning I wake up and I journal and I write 3 things I'm grateful for, usually around my family and my health, and it just sets you up for the day. And I think I've got a real positive outlook on life now, but it wouldn't have come if I hadn't have had that really negative experience in my mid-20s. But it's just great now that these organizations are out there that you can go and speak, and it's not a taboo subject like it used to be.
I have to say, we've been having a quiz. We've had 5 quizzes. Some of the questions have been about you. I've learnt an awful lot about you, actually. Some of the answers you wouldn't be aware of either. But something that's come up that I've noticed is on more than one occasion your name's been mentioned as somebody that chats with particularly some of the younger players, and you just sense they haven't actually spelt this out, but you sense that as a senior player with a significant amount of experience, you do have and you do play quite a significant part in these people, in these young players' lives. Are you aware of that? Are you conscious of that? Is it that experience of you when you're in your mid-20s, when you were struggling a little bit? Has that helped you to sort of realise that the contribution you can make to people's general health and mental welfare?
Yeah, I'll always, I won't say go out of my way to do it, but I'll always try and outwardly seek lads who I think might be struggling for different reasons, and try and speak to them, because football's such a unique profession. The emotions you feel, the highs, the lows, the roller coaster of journey you go on. I think I've experienced every single part of it, and through that, I think I've improved myself as a person and how to deal with situations. And I think it's important that I do pass that knowledge on. So if I see people that are going through a tough time, if they're not playing, injured, not in the team, not being picked, whatever it is, I've been through that exact scenario, and I try and speak to the lads. And I talked earlier about coping strategies, and it's all about trying to keep that level of emotion as what's the word, as regular as it could possibly be.
Stable, yeah.
As stable as it could be, a bit of stability, that's right. Because there's so many highs, there's so many lows. So if you're up there, then you're down there, then your mind can't deal with it. So if you can always take the emotion out of a situation, I think it's really important. But yeah, I'm always there to help the younger lads in whatever way I can, because football it's an amazing career, but it is a difficult one, and to navigate your way through it successfully, you are going to need help from outside sources.
At the age of the tender age of 34, you're considered to be a veteran in the game. And very sensibly, you've sort of anticipated that eventually you will stop playing football at some point, and hopefully not for a long time. But you prepared for that particular moment. You launched Little Rascals Foundation, which, for those who don't know, is aimed at supporting children with disabilities and their families. You've opened 2 soft play areas. And can I say, as a grandparent, I can't wait for you to reopen the damn things. Your partner in a finance company based both in Telford and in Shrewsbury. So you've done all the things that you would expect a thinking professional player. What you could not have anticipated is this lockdown that we're going through at the moment. Has that added to your concerns? You've got great partners, I know, and you rely on them massively. But even so, has this added to your sort of burden of concern?
Yeah, it has done, because, say, all businesses are really struggling at the moment. Unfortunately, we have really, really good people in the business who can manage our way through this, and it's allowed me a lot more time to concentrate on that as well. And what I think has been the hardest thing is the foundation. So the Little Rascals Foundation provides services for children with disabilities, and it helps their families. There's an array of things we do, but on the business side of it, the actual Little Rascals Play Centre, about 2 years ago, we changed the model of it completely, and every single penny which is spent in Little Rascals goes into the foundation. So any entry fees, any coffees, any sort of money at all taken in the Play Centre goes to the foundation, and that basically props the foundation up, because we get no outside funding from local authorities or anything like that. It's all fundraisers, and it wasn't quite cutting it, but we could see we could make a huge difference in the community. So that's when we made the decision to transfer the money from the centre into the foundation. And by doing that, it's allowed us to grow. But then obviously this comes along, and it's not going to be open for the foreseeable future. It's going to be one of the last places to reopen because of the social distances and the children. I can understand that. But likewise, we haven't received a government grant yet. We've applied for one. We're not sure if we're going to get one. Fingers crossed we do. Different loans and things out there. So we know that the foundation is really at a real critical point now. We're desperate to be here when the lockdown's finished, but we still got to pay the bills. You still got to do all the things that go alongside that. And then the amazing staff we've obviously had to furlough a few of the guys. And they've been amazing with it, but we're just so desperate to be still here making a difference when this is all over. And the secondary charities, I like to call it, I spoke to Jamie, who's head of in the community, about it. All the money's going towards the NHS and things like that, which is where the focus needs to be. It's incredible, but there's going to be a point in about 6 to 12 months where all these other local charities are going to be really struggling. And I think we're going to be one of those ones, unless we can, say, get the grants or something like that. So I've had a few sleepless nights over it and trying to organise things. But I actually did a raffle on my Euro 2016 shirts yesterday. Raffled all week, and we made £2,500, which really, it's made a huge difference. That will help us live to fight another day. I've definitely had stresses from outside, stuff that's important to me that I want to keep going. Fortunately, the business, the finance stuff, that's all going okay. We're still been able to do a little bit of work with that, so that's good. It's the foundation, which is the thing at the moment, which we're really trying hard to keep going.
Fantastic. If we could bring Harriet back in, there are just 1 or 2 questions that people have been sending in, and we're just going to be going over our time limit, but we'll stay with it just for the moment. Welcome back, Harriet. You now know as much about Dave as I do.
Superstar. Really great to connect.
Well, it's great to have you all on. Let's just look at 1 or 2 of these questions. Something Harriet was saying before you joined us, Dave, was about, deciding your own destiny, making things happen for you, making things work for you. I would think your destiny as a footballer was pretty well decided by the time you were 10, probably long before when you started kicking a football. You had this talent, you were aware of the talent, and the support of your parents as well was huge, really from a very young age, which is unusual in my case. I still don't want to teach, but I've been doing it for 40 years. But has there ever been a time when you felt you had to sort of sit down and review what you were doing, review your profession? Is that something that ever affected you or worried you or got you down, or?
Most definitely. I touched on it before. I had a couple of bad injuries in my mid-20s, and it was a point where I thought, am I actually going to come back from these? And that's when I started looking more into the business. So as much as it was a bad point in my career, I did find out how to improve myself emotionally. I got myself in a better place because of that injury. So there's lots of positive. I also really got into business at that point as well, because I started to outwardly look at things which I could do after football. And since then, I'm constantly reviewing what I'm going to do when I finish football and things like that. I want to give myself as many options as I possibly can. So many things which I do want to do, and I want to make sure that football means something when it does come to an end. I don't want to have 18, 20 years of playing football and it come to an end and me just not know what I'm going to do and end up doing something I don't enjoy. So working really hard to make sure that I can do something which I have a real passion for, which is a few things. Absolutely love the finance world, which I'm a part of. That really intrigues me, and I'd love to be able to give back in that aspect as well, especially in football, because so many players are mismanaged. It unfortunately don't come from amazing backgrounds, and they haven't got the role models at home. So when they do come into money, they haven't got the financial education to be able to handle that. I'd love to be able to give back to football in that way, try and teach lads how to really understand how money works, to make sure that football does mean something when they do retire and it hasn't all been for nothing. So that's something I want to push on with, along with the foundation and other things as well. But I'm just lucky to be in a position that I can hopefully choose that I can go forward with doing something that I have a real passion for.
Fantastic. Harriet, well, any of you, we got Jamie Edwards now in picture. He's the head of our community, doing a fabulous job in running our community during very difficult times. Might have a chance just to ask you about some of the pressures that we're under at the moment, and just share them with us, Jamie, if time allows. And Sophie also just chip in as well. But this is probably for Harriet. There's somebody here concerned about keeping their business going online during these difficult times. How would you respond to that, Harriet?
Again, it depends what their business is, but I think there's many different ways in being able to do that. The biggest thing that you need is customers, people to work with. And I think the biggest the biggest mistake people make when they try to do business online is they bombard and they go very cold. I think everybody here has probably received one of those generic messages that pops up in your outbox and tries to sell to you. Any selling process, whether it's online or offline, is about building relationships. It's about having a like, know, and trust connection with somebody. So if you're building your business online, start developing an audience, create a space that you can nurture a following. It's within that following that you can give back, you can give value. So I've got, for example, a community that has thousands within it. Out of those thousands, maybe only 100 or 200 I directly work with, and that come through, say, a business funnel and go on to next steps. But I still have an audience capture of thousands of people within that group. So I know if I launch, say, an ebook, and everybody, some of you are thinking, oh yeah, but I can't write a book. Everybody knows enough. Like Dave definitely could write very easily a book around financial education for footballers. Maybe with a snazzier title, something that fits in right. But it's about what you have inside you and creating something that you can put online, as long as you are bringing it to a following that you've already nurtured, you're already connecting with, and you're already providing value for.
Thank you, Harriet.
Fantastic. There we are. There's another business opportunity there for somebody. We've got Jamie there. Let me just ask you, Jamie. There's a question. Jamie, are you linked in? Can you hear all right?
Yeah.
Jamie's down there in Richard's Castle. Yes.
Yeah.
Are you Richard's Castle? Yeah.
Yeah.
South of the county, anyway. A bit further than Pontesbury, but not quite as far as Cornwall. How can we help the charity at the moment? It says, because you, as the head of the community, you've had the responsibility for quite a significant number of full and part-time people. That must have been very difficult, making decisions about who to furlough, who not to furlough, what to do, how do we keep things ticking over. And it's Dave's issue with the charity. It seems to be at the end of the queue when it comes to terms of charity from handouts from the government?
Yeah, I mean, from our kind of story from when this started, we went through it with staff actually a couple of days ago. Obviously, the first stage is the crisis stage. We've got 14,000 participants or unique participants that we see every single year. So it was kind of working through. One of Sophie's projects is working with children in care. We work with children with disabilities, and we work with vulnerable adults and the elderly. So we wanted to make sure, and linking into what Harriet said, making sure that we have some meaningful delivery continuing during this time. Obviously, that has money pressures as well. The internet is a great thing, but everybody went off all guns blazing, and I'm sure Harriet will agree, there was that many free resources that you can find online. It just meant that as a organization or as in a business, you were just running out of income sources absolutely everywhere. And you're starting to see more pop up now, which is great. But I think people are starting to realise the length of what we're going to go through. So thankfully now we've got a smaller team at the moment. The staff that have been furloughed have been absolutely fantastic. It was one of the hardest things we've had to do is the uncertainty that you're giving somebody when they're being furloughed, and you are saying to them, look, it's a decision to make sure that we're safeguarding the future of our charity. It's not a personal thing. Your job's not at danger. We're going to manage our way through this as best we can. So I think it's 15 actually we've got left at the moment that are working extremely hard and have adapted their whole delivery. So 32 projects are being delivered online now, or as close to it, and we're engaging with as many participants as we can. And the guys are doing some fantastic stuff. But like Dave said, I think we're in for a bit of a turbulent time. The NHS, we had the long discussion about everybody is fundraising at the moment for the NHS, which is rightfully so, and they're doing an amazing job. But I think the public have really got to look out at the other smaller charities that are going to be fundraising. For ourselves, we have £1 million worth of overheads a year. If you take 3 months out of any business, any charity, of any income coming in, we're fortunate we have, without looking at the figures, about 60-70% of our programs are funded, but the rest of that percentage comes from participants. So that might be somebody turning up to our extra time hub on a Thursday, paying £3.50 for a tea and coffee and a bit of health and fitness work. Those all add up. Or the Easter holidays, where we'll have thousands of kids coming through our soccer schools, paying £10 a day, which is really good value for them when they can do it. But at the moment, we've got to find ways around that. And the furlough scheme has gone a little way towards it. But I do think Little Rascals Foundation and thousands of other charities and businesses are going to not have it at the start, but they're going to have it in 6 months' time, because it's all right saying, can we fundraise in December, but people have Christmas and this 3-month period where people are out of work or looking after their money, they're not going to want to put their hand in their pockets. And as a charity, should we be asking that? So we've got a lot of questions to ask, and I'm sure we'll get through it. I'm confident that we'll get through it. And we're now concentrating on really trying to come back better as well. So using this opportunity to read more, to upskill our staff, to engage with our furloughed staff in the fact of how can they come back better as well. So we've had a lot of key guest speakers that have been fantastic on different times to like I said, really come back in a better place.
Fantastic, Jamie. Thank you for that. Sophie, this is probably something you might want to respond to with some information. We've got somebody who's written in to say that anyone currently with mental health problems, what additional support is available for them. I don't know whether you want to say anything, or perhaps Harriet, you might have some information as well, but I suspect it's probably a telephone number or some other piece of information. Do you want to just tell me about that?
So what we've done is we've just created a few resources for people to access. So after this, there will be a downloadable link, as we did last week. There are crisis lines on there, so if you are feeling at a point when you need to access those, do that. Get a hold of your GP. They do a callback service for you. There is support out there at this time. And like Harriet and Dave was saying, it is about that mindset and that sort of self-control and that establishing your routine and taking the opportunity to get out and your exercise and be a part of nature and connect with your family any way, shape or form you can. And if you don't have family or friends, then that is really important that you do access the services out there, because they are still running and they're actually at a very high capacity at the moment. I know a few friends are working on crisis lines So there is definitely the support out there. And if you are struggling in any way, in any real way that's going to affect you here and now, do get hold of your GP or get on one of the phone lines that is downloadable. Is that okay?
Fantastic. Harriet, do you want to add anything to that? Mental health issues and access to additional support. Any thoughts on that?
I think really Sophie captured it really beautifully, and pay attention to that. Get access to the relevant numbers if you feel that you need it. I would love to offer the group, I think I mentioned it to the amazing Liam. Let's all give Liam some love for allowing this tech to happen.
Don't overdo it. Don't overdo it.
A group on Facebook. It's called the Empowering Warriors Tribe, and every single day there is inspiration, education, motivation. There's something on mindset to support you. And kind of like I said way back at the beginning, and also thank you, Dave, for your epic slot. It was amazing to hear you, and especially that practice of gratitude, hearing Dave speak about that. That's something that we talk about a lot in the group. But what's important with, say, gratitude or your mindset is remembering that we all experience all of these different emotions. And something I like to share with everybody is get in your helicopter, which sounds a bit bizarre, but get in your helicopter at those moments. Connect with either the contacts that Sophie's just shared or coming to our tribe. There's always some support, some love, some guidance. Put a post, ask a question. But remember that what is happening now, and even the emotion that you're experiencing in that element of time, whilst it doesn't always feel like it, it too will pass. So as much as you can, practice that bath exercise that I shared with you consistently. It's in the same way you want to maintain your body, maintain your mind consistently. Practice something each day. Connect in an area, in a community, each and every day that has inspiration, education, and motivation. And if you keep doing that to yourself every day, you'll start to manage your mind, or even master your mind to serve you and live a more fulfilled life.
Thank you, Harriet. I think that's probably a good way to end this. I just have to ask Dave and Jamie, you can come in as well. Well, what about this season? What do we do? Do we want to finish this season off, or do we just say goodbye to it and start thinking about next season? What do you reckon? David first.
I think personally probably say goodbye to it, just because football isn't anything without the fans. It really isn't. And the thought of playing in empty stadiums isn't one that really fills me with any sort of joy or looking forward to it at all. So I would end it now. I'm not sure what the fairest way is, but ending it is the safest thing to do for the community and for the wider reaches of people. So that'd be my thing. And then hopefully we can be in a place in a few months' time where we can maybe start to get people back in stadiums and look at reopening it all.
Mine's
Jamie is
sort of the same. I would go a little bit further and say, if anybody can get the season finished and has the finances to do it safely, it'll be the Premier League. And probably fans won't agree with it too much, but the Premier League do fund a lot of lower league work. They fund a huge amount of the work that we do. They fund a huge amount of the Football Foundation that provides the facilities across the country. So I think it's really important that we can get things like that finished and the FA Cup finished, because of the finances will flow. Obviously, everybody wants more to flow further down the pyramid, but I think it's really important we find a way of finishing the Premier League. And then that in turn will help the League One, League Two clubs become more financially sustainable and get through the period.
fantastic. Good way to end, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Dave. Thank you, Harriet. Give our love to that beautiful part of the world, Cornwall. And thank you for the invite for the holiday next year. And I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Right,
it was worth a try anyway. So can I just say thank you, and thank you to everybody who's been listening. Keep well, socially isolate, do your very best, and we look forward to seeing you and speaking to you next time. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.